Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. And hello, Catherine. It's so lovely to have you back. How are you?
I'm good. We had a break last week, didn't we? Because I couldn't make it. So, yes, I'm absolutely fine. I'm holding onto my computer for dear life because, as usual, Mitzi Cat is trying to push it off the stand. She always lies on my computer. So, yeah, really good. But, I mean, I think ready for a break, actually, as well. You know, when you sort of know you've got a couple of days off coming and your body sort of crashes. I'm feeling a bit like that today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nearly Christmas and everything. What do you have planned for Christmas?
We've got family, just really seeing family. The children are both back. My daughter's going off up to Scotland afterwards with her football. So just spend as much time with the family and animals as possible and do as little as possible, but lots of walking, hopefully, weather permitting.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, also quiet. It's a very quiet Christmas, but it's all good. You know, I like quiet. So not really doing much or going anywhere, but as I said, I live in a holiday town. So I have the Johannesburgers that have absolutely arrived full force here on our little town. And it was quite crazy. I was on the beach the other day. And then you see these guys that have come onto the beach racing around with their 4x4s. It's just horrible. Oh. You know, I mean, firstly, it's illegal, although I'm certainly not one that loves to say, well, it's illegal, stop it. You know, I like to indulge in illegal things. But, you know, we've got such a delicate ecosystem here. So when they race around on their 4x4s and leave their huge tire tracks all over, it's so freaking annoying. But anyway, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I always think that when you see the speedboats, it's like the impact it has, the devastation on the sea life or the life in the water is just awful. But that's me being a party pooper. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm always a party pooper when it comes to stuff like that. Not in other instances, though.
No, exactly. It's just having that. I think it pulls into society in more detail. It's like if we can all look at our impacts of our actions on the bigger picture, and we all want to have fun, but we shouldn't be having fun at the expense of the lives of others, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I definitely fully agree with that. But anyway, you know, they come for a month a year. Well, I must say Easter, they'll be here as well. Usually Easter and Christmas, they love to enter in full force. I go, okay, doors are closed for a while. You'll see me in the shops just when I have to buy things, but that's about it. I must say in the early mornings, I'll go to the beach as well. But anyway. Yeah, and I've got to say, Cape Town has got its first flippin' fire at the moment as well. You know, NASA has been hovering around Cape Town in South Africa. They've terrible stuff going on here in terms of NASA. And literally a minute before we tuned in, I saw there's a massive fire in Fishhook in Cape Town, which is just crazy because that's, of course, you know, how they start with their nonsense. Mm-hmm. So let's pray that we are not in for a NASA attack, but it would not surprise me because they've been here and they've been mapping out their territory for a while. So there's so much corruption in this country, that's for sure. And the big names are all here and they just like to hide it well.
Yeah.
So let's hope that is short-lived because I don't like them here.
No, exactly. Go back off to the other planets, wherever you came from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how was your week been otherwise, though? I mean, have you had any... Yeah.
It's been a really interesting one. I've been pretty reflective this week. I'd love to hear what people listening. Thank you for anyone joining us in the chat. Let us know how you've been. I was saying to you off camera, I reconnected with my lovely friend Mel Kay, who a lot of people know Mel Kay, who's now the Mel Kay Show. She's not been on YouTube for ages because she's been axed multiple times. But she's a real powerhouse. And what was so lovely, Shanti, is like, she's really so factual and so well researched with her information. So very much spreading and empowering people with information so they can see what's going on, but from a very constructive viewpoint. And she spent the last sort of 2 years really touring around America and really speaking to people in person. And it's just incredible. But one of the things that it really made me reflect on the whole journey we've all been on. And by all of us being on, I'm including obviously everyone who's listening and watching this journey that we've been. And I think we've all evolved so much as people and in our understandings and probably in our compassion in all areas of our lives. And, you know, learned a lot along the way, the good, the bad and the ugly. And so, yeah, I'm feeling very, very reflective this week. I'd love to know how other people are.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. We did on one of my shows last night as well. You know, just it's interesting time of the year. Christmas is always it's a very high time for a lot of people, and it's a low time as well. You know, it's time where a lot of people get together with their families, but it's also a time where, you know, especially when you're looking, you know, with the satanic ritual abuse, I work with a lot of survivors. Not a nice time for them because it's a high ritual time. So there's a lot of sadness in the world at the moment as well, and a lot of joyfulness as well, because I think it's also a time where a lot of people are connecting with their families and their kids. And like you say, your children are there. And I think it's really a nice time for that as well. But I think it's really such a mixed bag, right? Of emotions at this time of the year. And even if it's not SRA people, I think because there's such an emphasis placed on togetherness and happy families and giving and gifting and money spent and holidays and all of that, you know, I mean, I look at, as I say, where I live, and you just see the people with the money come pouring in here. And that pretty much sustains our economy here, you know. Thankfully not me, because I'm not in the retail here. But you see that the perception is that there's a lot of money and happiness flying around. But also, having been a healer for so many years, I also know that that's not nearly close to the truth for a lot of people, because there are actually some quite atrocious things that happen over Christmas. I think it's a lot of overindulgence of a lot of things, including alcohol, including drugs, all sorts of things like that. So I think a lot of people see that side of it as well. So yeah, I think it's just a good time to be reflective, sit, enjoy yourself on your own, spend time on your own, reflecting, writing, reading, whatever it is. Hello, Gail. Nice to see you. So yeah, I think it definitely is a time. What we're actually doing on my show tomorrow with Caleb is we're inviting people to join us for a live show. Great. So we actually get onto Zoom, and a lot of people, and it'll be Christmas Eve for me, and for most of the Americans it's still going to be, well, it's not Christmas Day, the 24th, right? So just actually connecting with a lot of people, and you know, and it's funny, a lot of people were talking about their addictions last night, you know. You know, stuff like that. So I must say, I really love our viewers. I have to say, I really, really love our viewers, because they're so open. They're so willing to share their vulnerabilities and their fears. Because one thing I do know is that when you speak and you release all of that, yeah, Jessica, you're a regular. So you no doubt will be joining us tomorrow. Yeah. So, you know, when you just through speaking and expressing yourself, there's a lot of healing that happens. So a lot of healing and sharing. So we're going to do that, you know, as a bit of a Christmas.
Lovely.
Yeah, just for people and those who are alone, especially, just to connect and say hi to everyone. So nice to see you all in here, Jeannie as well. Yeah, where are you guys from, by the way, Jeannie? Have a beautiful, yeah, it's lovely, Gail. Yeah, nice to know where you're actually all from, Jessica. I know you are regular on the channel as well, the White Mother. Yeah, so all of that. But interesting times at least, and we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I think having that time to reflect is really good. And, you know, sometimes that's where the calendar can come in useful, because it's almost like a forced reflection really for a lot of people, even those who don't have time off work. I mean, I'll be working quite a lot of the way through, but one thing that really came to me this week as well is how we all talk about connection so much, but we've isolated so many areas of our life. I mean, I'm launching a new health and lifestyle program in January, and you know, when you're looking at exercise, when you're looking at eating, when you're looking at grounding, spending time in nature, it wasn't that long ago where all of those were part and parcel of your daily life. And now they're sort of activities that people put on their to-do list rather than being part and parcel of the daily life. And I think, you know, that's a really good thing for people to reflect on as well, is, you know,
I so agree.
How are we setting up our lives such that these absolutely core fundamental things that bring most people the most peace, the most connection, the most health, that we're not actually including them in our daily activities as such. They're extras that we fit in as and when we can. Talk about a topsy-turvy world, and it's really nice to see people reflecting on that. Yeah, everyone has New Year's resolutions, but I think looking at resolutions from taking your whole lifestyle and saying, how can I switch this up so that the things that I know feed my soul, fill my body, feed my spirit, are actually a core part of our daily activities, not bolted on extras when you can.
It's so true what you're saying. It's so true what you're saying. It's like, you know, I've always said COVID, this time with the COVID and what have you, has really been a time, I think, for waking a lot of people up, where we've understood. I've said, you know, we've created for ourselves a very, very narcissistic world. As long as the faster, the easier, the quicker, the better, right? And people living in these sky-rise buildings where so often their feet don't even touch the earth, right? They're just up and down and broom and in and out and work and party and connecting and making money and socializing and this kind of like really, I don't want to say that's a fake life, because that's very much a part of life as well. But when it's not, you know, when we don't have our sitting down with your family eating your meal, right? Yeah. And I remember as recently, well, my son is now in his late 30s already. But when he was, I'll never forget when he was going to school, the headmistress then was even saying to us as parents, you know, that some of the kids there didn't even know how to eat with a knife and fork, because they were so used to eating in front of the TV and just kind of like putting food in their mouths, which to me was uncanny. Because, I mean, I was growing up on the farm and, you know, like what people learning in finishing schools, my mother taught us as basic etiquette, you know, like what knives to eat with what and what, you know, forks to eat and et cetera, you know, and going out and playing outside was the order of the day. When it's hot, you swim, you know, and you don't go out between 1 and 2 in the afternoon because you know you're going to find snakes. No. That's when you actually chill. You lie down, you take your siesta after lunch, you know. Thereafter, you can go out and play outside again, especially when it's hot, right? And have a swim after that. And it was like normal part of our day. At 3 o'clock, you go and open the chickens, right? So the chickens can go out and do their thing. At 5 o'clock, you would do whatever again. It was just a normal part of your routine to be in nature, to be outside, to be running around, to be riding horses, to be with my father outside on the tractor. It was normal. It was normal life for me, you know. But I understand.
On something really important there is about the chores. You know, we both grew up where doing the chores was part and parcel. It wasn't something that, you know, you didn't, you're all part of that family. You all contribute in some way, whatever it is that you can do at that age. And, you know, now it's weird. It's like people see doing the garden as a chore rather than a basic survival thing to, you know, I'm really big into the permaculture and get rid of these lawns and start feeding yourself. But it's only a couple of generations back, our grandparents' generation, if even, you know, obviously you grew up on a farm, so not even that far back for you, but where it was completely normal. And now I always remember my father saying to me, it's so bizarre that people think that to have fun and get exercise, they have to spend an absolute fortune and go to the gym or the golf course or whatever, when actually the best exercise that we're designed for is probably chopping your wood, doing your garden, walking to the, I know we can't all walk to the shops for various reasons, but you know, these day-to-day activities, then you don't have to find an extra hour to get your steps in because you've already done them just as part of your daily lifestyle. And it's a big issue for me and something I'm really working on a lot with my clients, because we don't have to make things complicated. I don't mean we can't bring in some of the fun aspects of modern lives. And for me, I'm very grateful I've got a washing machine and a dryer and a cooker and central heating and running water. I'm really grateful for all those mon-cons. But actually, some of the best discussions and family discussions can take place when you're washing the dishes with your children, because this is why I had a lovely talk that's publishing tomorrow with one of my really long-term friends who does equine assisted therapy, and she works with special needs children and adults and all sorts of people, you know, anyone. We've all got our own special needs. But one of the reasons why they have such good results with those therapies is you're not sitting there face to face looking at each other, like you were saying. If you're doing an activity with people that have got troubles and you're not sort of intensely staring at them, whether you're walking a horse or washing the dishes or out walking the dogs, it can be much easier to naturally start sharing what's on your heart and what you're worried about. And so a lot of these mon-cons have taken away those really important connection times, I feel. So sometimes we'd all do quite well to look into our lives and think, well, actually, you know, when am I having those connections with my loved ones?
You know, it's so true, because that's one of the things that load shedding, you know, we always talk about load shedding in South Africa. And I would say to my clients at the time, you know, that really is actually a blessing to have load shedding at a certain time, because now you don't have the TV on. You can actually have a candlelit dinner with your family, and you can actually you know, what you really then do is you because we have schedules anyway, you know, you can prepare your food beforehand or have a picnic or just, you know, cut some nice homemade bread and sit around the table and just kind of like eat and enjoy without having, as you say, the TV on and having a million other distractions going on at the same time. It's really a time for connecting. It's time for and that was part of, you know, I remember running workshops and things at the time. And part of that was, part of the workshops I was doing was incorporating load shedding into your daily life. So we have different times of the day. So if you had it in the morning, like at breakfast or at school, how were you actually working around that? Dinner or evening was especially good. You know, that's a big one, because it's especially then when families and things get together. So how are you as a family actually making use of that time, turning that negative into a positive? So what were you doing with your life at the time? What were you doing with your kids at the time? Maybe that's the time you could tidy out the cupboards. I don't know, you know, or just sit around, hang around, do whatever, and just have family time, talking, playing cards. I mean, us on the farm, we used to, I remember in winter, we used to have a big fireplace and we call it the sun porch. And we used to play Monopoly or Donkey, the cards. Someone was always cheating. We were always fighting. Someone was always fighting because someone was always being accused of cheating. You know, or whatever it was. You know, those cards you played, old Granny, or what, I don't remember. But that for us was a big thing, you know. So you really sit and you have that family time. My dad, I remember, always sitting on his chair reading a magazine of sorts. And I used to love going to sit next to him, and he would read me a story out of the magazine. And like I would ask him to read something to me, and I'd sit next to him and he would read me something out of the magazine. That for me was my favorite time, I'll tell you that much. So there's so many things we can do, you know, when we're having these negatives, and we can turn them into positives, because I think that's what we really need to be considering more. You know, and I mean, growing our food was the order of the day.
Yeah.
You know, it was just normal. I mean, I've got a big veggie garden going on in the background here, and my beans. I mean, you see how big my beans are getting. I'm so excited. My onions, my chilies, they're huge.
Wow.
And I'm so excited about my chilies, my little tomatoes. Everything is just coming up. So it's really, really exciting to grow your own food. It really, really is. It really is. So stuff like that, my herbs, thyme. Oh my goodness, my thyme is just divine. And my mint. Oh wow, I've got to make myself a mojito. Definitely going to make myself some mojito.
Yeah,
with all the mint on bread.
absolutely.
So,
yeah. You can see I turn anything that needs bringing in comes into my office. Over by the fire, I've got trays of sprouted wheatgrass growing for the rabbits and guinea pigs and things. So everywhere I can, I've got trays of stuff, growing. And I'm really excited to learn more and do more. And for me to take my own advice, I love what Jessica says. She's saying her and her son are sitting there at the picnic table now. Hi, that's lovely. But yeah, I think, we can all help each other and encourage each other. But it's just, I just think so many of us are realizing that actually there's a lot of benefits, so many benefits in every aspect of our life to really concentrate on the simple things. And that to me has been one of the really great things that has come out of the last few years, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I really think that these are times that we've got to consider how we are either standing in our own way, right? Because really, we say, get out of my way, you're in my way, You really are the only person that's standing in your own way. So how are we standing in our own way? What can we do to actually get out of our own way and make things better? Because we really, really can. I must say, I don't often go on holiday at all. When I travel, I work invariably. It's always a work type situation for me. But I choose places to live in where I get to walk in nature. I get to go to the beach. I get to swim in the sea. I get to go and walk in the forest. I get to do these things. It's a choice. It's available to me every day. And that brings in balance all the time. So I don't really, you totally have to take a break from doing things all the time, definitely. I love working, but my work is not really my work. I see it as just something I enjoy doing. It's how I pass my days mostly. But yeah, there are times where you do need to take some time out, hang out with your friends, your family, and just be normal, whatever that might be for you. But yeah, anyway, I definitely like that, Jessica. Very cute, sitting there having breakfast, picnic. Very cute. Yay. Well, we are on the Prophet, and I just love this book. So we're going to go through a few little others, chapters of the Prophet, just some lovely wisdom from Kahlil Gibran. And I absolutely love it. So today I've decided to look at giving. Let's look at the chapter of what he says, giving. Then said a rich man, speak to us of giving. And he answered, you give but little when you give your own possessions. It is when you give yourself that you truly give. For what are your possessions but things you keep and guard for fear you may need them tomorrow? And tomorrow, what shall tomorrow bring to the overprudent dog bearing bones in the trackless sand as he follows the pilgrims to the holy city? And what is fear of need but need itself? It is not dread of thirst when you I'm reading badly. Is not dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable. There are those who give little of the much which they have, and they give it for recognition, and their gifts unwholesome. And there are those who give little and give it all, right? So that's really what it is to give. Hang on. These are the believers in life and the bounty of life, and their coffer is never empty. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. And there are those who give with pain, and that pain is their baptism. And there are those who give and know not pain is giving, nor do they seek joy, nor give with mindfulness of virtue. They give as in yonder valley the myrtle breathes its fragrance into space. Through the hands of such as these God speaks, and from behind their eyes he smiles upon the earth. It is well to give when asked, but it is better to give when unasked, through understanding. And to the open-handed, the search for one who shall receive is joy greater than giving. And is there aught you should withhold? All you have shall someday be given. Therefore give now. That is a season of giving may be yours and not your inheritors. You often say, I would give, but only to the deserving. The trees in your orchard say not so, nor the flocks in your pasture. They give that they may live, for to withhold is to perish. Surely he who is worthy to receive his days and his nights is worthy of all else from you. And he who has deserved to drink from the ocean of life deserves to fill his cup from your little stream. And what desert greater shall there be than that which lies in the courage and the confidence, nay, the charity of receiving? And who are you that men should rend their bosom and unveil their pride, that you may see their worth naked and their pride unabashed? See first that you yourself deserve to be a giver and an instrument of giving. For in truth it is life that gives unto life, while you who deem yourself a giver are but a witness. And you receivers, and you are all receivers, assume no weight of gratitude, lest you lay a yoke upon yourself and upon him who gives. Rather rise together with the giver of his gifts as on wings. For to be over-mindful of your debt is to doubt his generosity, who has free-hearted earth for mother and God for father. Isn't that amazing? I just love that.
Yeah, there's so many good messages and so applicable to this time of year when lots of people are thinking about giving and receiving.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really what I love what he says there. Basically, are you worthy of giving? Are you yourself worthy of giving? And if so, what is it you're giving, right? And are you giving because you want recognition, basically? Or are you giving because that is who we are? You know, it's like what I say as well. It's like, you know, we are all born with gifts. And we know that gifts are there for sharing. So for me, giving and sharing is really the same thing. You know, so when you share your gifts, that's really what we've come here to do. So are you worthy of giving? I mean, that's a really, I mean, how many people look at that, right? And what are you giving when you give at the end of the day? It's like the tree gives of its shade freely. It doesn't complain about the little bird or the little caterpillar or whatever that takes shade under the tree. I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing. Isn't it just normal to give?
And when you're in that vibration, when you're in that mindset, that energy of giving and receiving, I also really like what he said about not being over grateful for when you receive things as well, because that can just put an uncomfortableness. It's a fine balance. It's these nuances in life that are so important, aren't they, that come with practice and really with tuning in to the other people and learning to really read the situation as well as possible. You know, I love sometimes some of the best examples where you see of giving is when people do it anonymously. You know, it's really special to think that someone's really thinking of you, and you do, you know, without asking for anything in return, because they're not even, you know, letting you know it was you. And there's so many different ways that you can give and receive. But when you were reading that, really stood out for me about what energy are you receiving with? So it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a difficult one for a lot of people to get the balance right between having gratitude and being open to giving and receiving as a sort of everlasting flow, really.
Isn't that what paying it forward really is about there, if we think about it in that way? Because, you know, really, and I think that's what it's about. And it's so true what you're saying. How often do we have someone who you give something to and they go, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. I'm like, it's cool, just chill. You know, it's cool. I wouldn't give it unless I could afford it or was able to, whatever. If I'm giving, it's because I want to give. I don't expect that you're going to be overly grateful and groveling at my feet forever. But it is nice to have someone say thank you. Yeah, that's what it is. For me, it's I just love an acknowledgement and a thank you so much. And I will, when someone gives me something as well, it's like, wow, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for that. But does that mean now you've got to now be grateful forever, or you've now got to be forever indebted to that person or that situation, right? And it's really understanding that as a giver, you're a receiver as well. And as a receiver, you're a giver. And it's, again, that balance, right? And as you say, there are so many subtle nuances here. And it's really about, and I love that, and what are you giving? Just because you have the possessions to be able to give, are you giving because you want recognition, because you want to feel better about yourself, because, whatever it is. It's like, especially over this time at Christmas, you might have the money to go and buy a big Christmas meal, and the day after you can give your leftovers to the poor people on the street. Is that really? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but I'm saying let's think about giving our time. Let's think about giving our energy to someone or something. Let's think about going to an old age home and sitting with an old person and reading them a story, right? Isn't that worth so much more, maybe in some instances, than giving your leftover food to the people who you deem hungry? And
I think I don't know. For that, I think we've got to be careful not to make comparisons, because for someone that's hungry, it can literally be the difference between life and death. And really, so exactly. I think it's both. I think it's all of it. It's yes. They're giving it from time and energy. It's just so needed, so much more. We've got, I think, as we've spoken about before, never have we had so many lonely people feeling vulnerable, feeling judged, feeling not able to connect with, feeling misunderstood. And when someone goes and spends time with you without asking for anything in return, it can literally change someone's life.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I say, so is it, but I think so many of us think about giving in terms of material terms, right? And as you say, you 100% spot on. That food can make such a difference to someone's life. Absolutely. It's like, I often will come out of a restaurant and you'll often see the beggars on the street here, and they'll ask you, because if you take like what we call the doggy bag home for lunch tomorrow or whatever, and they'll say, "Ma'am, may I have your leftovers?" And I'll go, "Sure." Like, please, by all means have it. But I've also learned that I will spend at least 5 minutes talking to that person.
Yeah.
Say, well, how's it going with you? Where do you stay? Where's your family? Do you have children? I invariably will take an interest in their life. And do you know how grateful people are for that? Just to sit down. And that's one of the things with the African culture. When you sit down and you actually walk into someone who's an African's house, it's so different to European people, because the first thing you do is you sit down and you don't actually look at them in the eye, you look down. Okay, now we like eye contact, you look down. And the first thing I'll say, how's your mother? And then you start talking about family and connections and stuff like that, because the mother is a very important person, the most important person in the home. So it's like talking about how is your mother and really taking an interest in that. How's your family? How's your child? How's your dog? And listening to that. So it's giving your time, it's giving your attention. And I think that's as important. And that's why it's a balance, I think, of everything, right? Giving. Yeah. Very interesting. I don't know, does anyone have anything to say about that in the chat? I think it's always nice if you guys join us in the chat with these topics. It's always nice just to get your feedback as well. Cool.
I think it goes so far as well. I mean, I've been doing quite a lot on social media recently, giving away free resources, which, a lot of effort's gone into. And when someone just says thank you, it just gives you that energy to keep going. It can literally be as simple as a thank you that can really make all the difference for someone to say, oh, okay, because we all need feedback. Everyone needs some sort of feedback in some way. So I think, again, that just a simple thank you can just really go a long way. And we don't see enough of it, I think, in society now.
I agree. I agree. Just that, thank you, appreciation, you know. It's always just one balancing out the other, you know. And when the time comes that somebody needs something from you, you'll be able to give them something then, you know, like paying it forward, right? Where you don't actually, you give without expecting in return. I think that's super important as well, to give without expecting anything in return. Okay. And then the woman said, speak to us of joy and sorrow. And he answered, your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is it not the cup that holds your wine, the very cup that was burnt in the potter's oven? Is it not the lute that soothes your spirit, the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given your sorrow that is giving you joy. And when you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. How interesting is that again? That balance, right?
Yeah, it is.
And I love that. I love that part where he says, and when you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you will see that in truth you are weeping for that which once has been your delight. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is so true, because at the end of the day, it really looks when we look at the joy and the sorrow, because one moment we can be so filled with joy for, let's say, a relationship we're in or a moment we're in, and a month or a week or a day later, boom, that's gone. Let's say someone passes away unexpectedly or something like that, and the very thing that gave you so much joy now brings you so much sorrow. Right. Getting that balance. What's your take on that, Catherine?
It is a balance, and it's an interesting one, because so many of these things sound so cliche, but they're so deep in terms of this is what makes us alive, really. You know, this is the whole journey of life, isn't it? Of these ups and downs, and how we ride them, and what we hold on to, and how we can. And let's see a few comments in the chats about letting go and forgiveness. You know, it's for me, it's all about feeling with the full depth of feeling, but not necessarily holding on to that, processing it, and then moving on. And that is a lifelong journey for me, in terms of, it's so easy in times of melancholy or sadness, or when that joy is gone, or you're going through any sort of challenge, or your loved ones are, to sink back and just reconnect with those times of sorrow in the past, when actually probably at those times that's the most important times to reconnect with the joy. So I think a lot of these things, you've only got to watch a child, how quickly they can recover and move through things. You know, they can be really hurting one minute, or really upset one minute, and really joyful the next. And I think going back to that sort of energy of experiencing but not holding on to it can really transform.
I love that. It's so true. There's that beautiful Buddhist saying that goes, and this too shall pass.
Yeah.
The good news is this too shall pass, and the bad news is this too shall pass, right?
Yeah.
So it's really about understanding in life, we're always going to have fantastic emotions. And when I say fantastic, it doesn't necessarily mean good, right? Only good. We're going to have pain, and we're going to have joy. We're going to have highs, we're going to have lows. And it's true. It's about really understanding that in that moment, things do pass, and it's a momentary thing. For me, I'm always going to say, what are you gaining through this experience? That's what I would say. What are you feeling? What is it bringing up for you? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to look deeper at? And really to understand that everything in life passes. Life is about highs and lows, joys and sorrows. So if we can accept that and appreciate that, that really is what makes us human at the end of the day, isn't it? Is that we get to feel. And the whole thing is not to hold on to these feelings, not to hold on to the anger, not to hold on to the sorrow, not to hold on to the negativity, and also not to hold on to the beauty or whatever, because that beauty is relevant in this moment, but it might not be relevant in the next moment or the next experience. But it's relevant to everything at some point in time. And it really is understanding that life is transient. Emotions are transient. We are transient. And we really just moving through this earth plane at the moment in a very transient way, and just to enjoy things for what they are. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, so many of this these discussions come back to me to energy and life force. And, as soon as you can try and contain anything like that, you're going to cause problems. You're going to cause overheating. You're going to cause restrictions. Right. You're going to. So I think it's one of the challenges, I would say, more about being human. When I watch my cats, I'm surrounded by cats because I've got my fire going again. I've got cats everywhere in here. But it's just so amazing to watch how things flow in their lives. And they definitely do hold on to sadness. They definitely do hold on to trauma at times. I see that a lot with the animals that I work with, but not in the same way that we do. There has to be an active reactive trigger to bring them back into that point, rather than an internal trigger, if you see my point.
Absolutely.
And so with humans, it's so interesting. I mean, we don't want to get away from the beauty of being human and the things that do make us pretty unique, we think, although we're finding more about everything else all the time. However, I think also we need to really keep asking what serves us. And I think sometimes, again, coming back to how we started off the conversation about how many people are living their modern lives now, there's a beauty in just doing the day-to-day things of living as a human, the washing, the shopping, the cooking, the tidying up, the wearing your children out, wearing the dogs out, all the things that come with looking after our day-to-day life. Imagine how most of our lives could be transformed if we got real joy and gratitude for those things, rather than these superficial things that almost come in like a drug to tempt us away from what's really serving us.
Isn't that what Eckhart Tolle speaks about, the power of now? Living in the now, living in the moment, because whatever this moment gives to you, whatever you're feeling in this moment, it kind of dictates what the next moment is. And yes, we can't have any expectation really of what the next moment might hold, but to know that everything passes in life. So to enjoy the moment for what it is, and to see it for what it is, and to really enjoy the experience for what it is. I think that is actually something. I love that.
Yeah, I do. It's the type of thing, as you say, I can see why you love the book so much, because each time you go back to it, like any good book, you're going to be in a different place. Therefore, you'll experience the messages very differently.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, life is transient. We are transient as humans. So enjoy the moment. Feel the highs, feel the lows. And at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? To enjoy it for what it is, and know that when you leave this world, man, you're leaving with a bang.
And I think it's so relevant to what the evil controllers are trying to take away from everyone. Look at the whole agenda to keep people locked down, to keep people isolated, to stop them doing the things they want, because they know how damaging this is. You know, we all know, I know I was preaching to the converted, but we know that this is a deliberate plan, because when you take that joy away, you've completely got rid of the balance in people's lives. Yeah. So I think when you understand some of these lovely principles that he covers in the book, you can literally apply it to every scenario. And it also makes you realize how strongly why these agendas are so well thought out and why so many people fall for them, because they are really hitting you at the core of humanity.
Exactly. But also by the same token, I think if we are wise enough to then realize we should appreciate the things that we maybe have missed out on or we've been depriving ourselves of.
Yeah.
Right. Such as growing our own food, such as learning just how to receive with grace and not feel like you're eternally indebted to someone because of that, right? It's really just about, these are moments that pass. Every moment will pass, and just to understand this too shall pass. And it's up to us to make the next moment, turn the next moment into what we can. Yeah.
And so much of these control mechanisms we can use to our advantage, because actually, you know, how many people did visit their elderly relatives enough before the lockdown? You know, how many of us did do this? So I think, you know, this is why sometimes these things, I mean, look at how many people, there's a never-ending stream of people that once they've been through it and been able to process awful atrocities that have happened in their lives, as a lot of your guests attest to, so many people say they wouldn't change it because it has made them who they are today. And they often, the people that I see, not always, but you see such brilliant examples of where people that have been through the most are actually the most content and at peace with life and really get the most out of it. And that is such a gift to see and such a lesson for everyone, really. You know, don't sweat the small stuff comes to mind.
Yeah, indeed, that really is true. And it's also just to teach us that at any moment, life can end, right? Or you or the next person. So make the most of the moments that you have. That for me is really important. Okay, I know that you're usually on a tight schedule, but let's go through one more, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Then then said a teacher, speak to us of teaching. And he said, no man can reveal to you aught but that which already lies half asleep in the dawning of your knowledge. I love it. No one teaches you anything new. We're just being reminded. The teacher who walks in the shadow of the temple among his followers gives not of his wisdom, but rather of his faith and his lovingness. If he is indeed wise, he does not bid you enter the house of his wisdom, but rather leads you to the threshold of your own mind. The astronomer may speak to you of his understanding of space, but he cannot give you his understanding. The musician may sing to you of the rhythm which is in all space, but he cannot give you the ear which arrests the rhythm, nor the voice that echoes it. And he who is versed in science of numbers can tell you of the regions of weight and measure, but he cannot conduct you thither. For the vision of one man lends not its wings to another man. And even as each one of you stands alone in God's knowledge, so must each one of you be alone in his knowledge of God and in his understanding of the earth. I love that. Absolutely love that. Because really, at the end of the day, what are we saying? We're saying that, firstly, no one can teach you anything that you don't already know, because everything is within us. God lives within us, and it's up to us to recognize that. So when we understand that about ourselves, we then open up what I love to call our own symphony, our own little symphony of who we are. And what is my understanding of, let's say, music or whatever it might be, right, would be a different understanding that you have. And instead of saying you right, I'm wrong, or I'm right and you wrong, you know, we then get to say, okay, well, let's bring that together. What is your understanding of that? What is your understanding of that? Isn't that how we create richness amongst ourselves, right? Is to bring together our knowledge and to bring together our understanding of what things are about. That for me is like what a perfect orchestra is. If you look at it just in terms of life, right? It's a perfect orchestra of everyone bringing their own instrument to the orchestra, playing it to the best of their ability, which creates this beautiful music.
Absolutely. And again, you know, going back to how that can be used against us, the trust the science or trust the plan. Yeah. Same scenario, you know, don't think, don't be curious, don't go to someone that's going to open up this curiosity inside of you. Believe this, believe that, but don't go anywhere in between. And I think it's quite comical when you look at it's so obvious. Once you just open up that playbook and understand, it is so obvious why they're using the tools and techniques they are. But the beauty of that is it's so then great for us to then realize how we can ignore it and not fall for it again. Exactly. So these are very wise words, obviously, and you know, allowing that anytime you're completely attached to one belief system, you're not going to allow your mind to be opened. You're not going to allow the wisdom to come out of yourself because you've already set something in stone, and that can be damaging for all of us.
Absolutely. I so agree with that. And, you know, it really is understanding as well that everything we need is within. For me, that's really the key thing here. And it's really bringing out your understanding of what that is. And to talk and to share and to connect on those things is really what makes us human at the end of the day. We're all human. We're all unique. We're all created from the same divine magnetic force. It's up to us to figure it out and discover it. And really, you know, and that's why when we have great leaders and great teachers, right? Because as you say, a great teacher is never going to tell you what to see, but would rather show you where to look. So if you go and look there, what do you find, right? What does that mean to you? So what does the color green mean to you? What does the color purple mean to you, for example? Each one has got their own understanding of that. And it's so nice when we can actually bring it all together and have a rich tapestry of everyone's understanding and everyone's knowledge. And that's what really makes life interesting and beautiful. So yeah, that for me is what it's about.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic little book. It is a fantastic little book. And I think sometimes it's really great to have these little reminders to really put us back on track. And it's so easy to be pushed off track, but actually it's very easy to get yourself back on. We've been told for so long it's difficult, it's hard, and it really doesn't have to be.
For me, I love working with kids. I got to tell you, as a spiritual teacher, I love working with kids because kids will always remind you of things. And as a teacher, you know, you understand that you're not in that place where you know it all, not at all. You might choose to be the voice of something at this point in time, but it's always about being open to receiving and learning at the same time. You're never too old to learn. You're never too old to understand what someone else is bringing you. I mean, the beggar on the street can be your greatest teacher. Absolutely. Just by, as you say, giving and receiving. It's an art. Giving and receiving is an art, right? It's an art. It really is an art. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful when we're able to see that and understand that. Yeah. So those of us who go out and teach, we just need to be so willing to be taught in return. You know, who's the greatest one? The learner, teacher, teacher, learner. That's one of the things that comes up in my workshops a lot is, you know, there's the learner, teacher, teacher, learner. Who's the learner? Who's the teacher? So we're always learning and we're always teaching. And we've got to be aware of that we actually are all teachers. We're all teachers. We're all learners. So again, it's not about sitting and groveling at somebody's feet. You know, and that's why people often get I find in my experience, especially when it comes to Buddhism, you know, because you will sit at the feet of your teacher And it's not about groveling at the teacher's feet. It's about respecting the path that they've walked, because feet are obviously walking are about having walked a path, and they've walked a path of wisdom, and they've walked a path of knowledge. And if that's a great teacher, then that teacher is going to be as grateful to have you at their feet and learning from you as what you are with them. I mean, I always often tell the story about my Buddhist monk, and I call him my monk because totally he was my monk. You know, he could not speak a word of English. I could not speak a word of Thai, but we understood each other perfectly. Every time I went up to the temple, I would sit there. We would hang out for like 2 hours, and he would tell me, he would just beckon me, come. And then he would just walk. And this guy could not, it was only about 5 years before I met him that he could start walking. For years, he was paralyzed. So he just loved to walk. So he would take me to places around the temple, which I know no one else was going to. And I would feel where he's taking me. And then he would go to this random place, and we would just sit there. And I would know that something was buried there. Like there was some, not, it wasn't always an animal. He understood I loved animals. And there was an animal of sorts that was buried there. And I could connect with the spirit of the animal that was there. It was amazing. He just knew that about me, and I knew things about him as well. So learning and teaching and learning all the time, which is something very powerful.
It really is. It really is. So end of December, nearly already. Can't believe it. Cannot believe we're going in. I mean, I know everyone keeps saying time's an illusion, but we're in it at the moment. So, but I must say, it's been, I couldn't believe it when it was a winter solstice last night. I was like, wow, that's come so quickly. Yeah, we've had a pretty gentle winter so far. It's not been tough at all. So, touching lots of wood.
Lucky, my summer's only just started.
Yeah.
And already now we're going to start changing. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. The mornings start getting darker already. Yeah.
I'll start getting lighter. So thank you. Send it our way. Makes such difference with the animals. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Catherine, thank you so much. And then I will see you back next year again. We'll figure out when the next get together is. And thank you guys for being in the chat here as well. And just a reminder that tomorrow, the 24th on Caleb's show, we're having a live Zoom get together.
Tomorrow.
24th, which is Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday. Of course, I'm forgetting. It's not Saturday, it's Sunday. So please watch our community section on YouTube and stuff. Morné is actually putting down, we're doing it. So those of you who are on here who don't have Zoom, just download Zoom, please, and we'll send you a link. And please just make sure your name is on the link. So when you enter the Zoom room, I can see who you are. I don't want any dodgy Doras in there. So just that I can see your name, just put your name on there. I'll know who you are when your name comes up. And then we'll obviously admit you, and we'll have a little Christmas chat and a Christmas get together. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be very cool.
What time's that?
7 o'clock my time, so 5 o'clock your time, and whatever other time. So I'm GMT +2, and wherever else in the world you guys are, you got to figure out GMT +2, right? So no, in the UK, you guys are 2 hours behind me. Yeah. So anyone else who want to join us, please do. We're just going to get together, talk, just share stories, and have some fun. Just enjoy Christmas together, or pre-Christmas together. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Okay, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining.
Keep an eye on my community tab as well, and I will be putting up there when next one will be on my channel. So come and join us there and join in the live fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Catherine, is there anything you want to say before our show comes to an end?
I just think really just thanks so much for everyone being here, and just whatever this time of year means to you, I just really hope it's a good one for everyone, that you get some time to do whatever you want to do, reflect and you know, see some loved ones, whether it's the squirrels in your garden, family members, friends, whatever that means for you, but just to have some connection with what's important for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And to our Patreons, again, so much appreciate you guys for being the nuts and the bolts of this channel. And really, Joanne, you always, I know you're not on the chat, she's always such a generous. Joanne's the one that looks after the Joeys.
Oh,
Catherine,
I can't wait to speak to her.
yes.
Oh,
we're
my
going to have her on early next year as well. They've also got fires in Australia. Pray for us. The fires have started in Cape Town today, guys. Ish. We know NASA's in Cape Town up to their shenanigans. So terrible. Okay, guys. Take care. We'll see you back on this show next year again.
Bye-bye.
God bless you all. Bye-bye.